The NBA hierarchy has officially shattered. For nearly a decade, we knew exactly who ran this league. But as we head into the 2026 to 2027 NBA season, the old guard has been systematically caught by a hyper-efficient, ruthless new wave of superstars. In this video, I'm going to be doing a deep dive ranking of the absolute top 10 players in the world right now coming into next season. No historical bias, no lifetime achievement awards. We are looking strictly at what happened on the hardwood last season, advanced tracking data, tactical team infrastructure, and what these guys are projected to do over the next 9 to 10 months. Make sure to like and subscribe for more videos. And before we reveal number 10, I got to get through 3 elite franchise-altering players who just barely missed the cut. Let's get into the honorable mentions. Our first honorable mention is the engine of the New York Knicks, Jalen Brunson. He just won the NBA Finals. He just won Finals MVP. He led New York to one of the best playoff runs ever. Leaving Jalen Brunson out of the top 10 feels almost criminal, though, after what he has built in New York, but it speaks to the terrifying depth of the elite tier. Brunson turned in another masterful campaign, hovering right around 27.5 points and 6.5 assists per game last season while maintaining elite crunch time efficiency. His ability to navigate tight spaces using pristine footwork, pump fakes, and a lethal mid-range deceleration makes him a nightmare to scheme against. The New York Knicks run a heavy spread pick-and-roll infrastructure because Jalen Brunson is one of the most disciplined isolation processors in the entire NBA. He turns the ball over on fewer than 9%. Let me say that again. He turns the ball over on less than 9% of his total possessions despite carrying a massive usage rate. That is almost unheard of. Incredibly disciplined, incredibly cautious with the ball. However, I do have him in the honorable mentions and not in the top 10. Like I said, that feels very low and feels very wrong, especially as the season and the playoff run he just had. But the physical toll of Jalen Brunson, because of his size and how hard he has to work for every single bucket, opposing defenses throw heavy blitzes and physical traps at him over a 7-game series. He's right on the absolute fringe of the top 10, but the size limitations slightly hold his defensive ceiling back compared to the two-way monsters coming up next. I will say I understand Brunson's incredibly talented, and I understand that he's a Finals MVP now. He's incredibly talented, like I just said. But I can't. The guys on this list, I just think there's 10 guys on this list that are better than him, and I'm sorry that I have him outside the top 10. I really feel like he deserves a spot in the top 10 just based off the last season. I feel really bad, but I can't put him top 10 knowing what's to come. Next up for our second honorable mention is the premier slash and defend wing in the Eastern Conference, Jaylen Brown. He just got traded from the Boston Celtics to the Philadelphia 76ers, so newly acquired 76er Jaylen Brown is my second honorable mention. Fresh off a dominant multi-year run anchoring Boston's championship identity, Brown has completely erased the narrative that he's an incomplete secondary star. He proved that without Jason Tatum that he can lead a team at least throughout the regular season. Now, Jaylen Brown is the gold standard of modern athletic wings. Last season, he gave Boston almost 29 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists per game on highly efficient 48% shooting from the field and 35% from beyond the arc. Now, his left-hand handle, which used to be a talking point on sports TV, on social media, everywhere, it has been tightened into an elite weapon to counter heavy gap defenses, but he still turns the ball over a lot. Not as much as he used to, but still turnovers are a problem for JB. Now, what separates Brown from standard scoring guards is his defensive assignment flexibility. With Joe Mazzulla regularly handling perimeter threats by putting Brown directly on the opponent's primary point guard, using his chest and length to completely disrupt initiation sets, which I don't know how well, or I don't know how Brown's gonna play defensively in Philly. Obviously, he'll probably play great. I'm just saying I don't know his personnel that they'll be playing with, but in Boston, he definitely proved that he's a incredible two-way guard, two-way wing. But we don't know what he's going to look like in Philly. He's going to be surrounded by a lot of talent, and his usage rate probably won't be as high as it was in Boston. Now, I think Jaylen Brown is a top 10 talent, so is Jalen Brunson. But sacrificing total statistical volume for absolutely winning utility, and Jaylen Brown does that very well. We'll see how he performs in Philly. There's a chance he can be a top 10 player. I think his usage rate will be way lower in Philly, though, just because of all the talent that he's going to be around, especially if Philly acquires LeBron James. Closing out our honorable mentions is Cleveland's explosive offensive engine, Donovan Mitchell. The Spider continues to be one of the most pure, unguardable, high-volume scoring guards in the sport of basketball. Mitchell carried a massive creation load for Cleveland last year, averaging 28 points, 4.5 rebounds, and almost 6 assists per game. D-Mitch was actually a playoff riser last year, leading the Cavs alongside their elite talent, but he was a leader of the Cavs to the Eastern Conference Finals, where they eventually lost to the New York Knicks. But when the Cavs' offense stagnated due to spacing issues in their dual big front court, Mitchell's elite burst out of the pick and pop was their entire salvation. Donovan Mitchell sits in the upper echelon of pull-up scoring efficiency. His effective field goal percentage on pull-up threes is north of 54%, placing him alongside guys like Damian Lillard and Steph Curry, two of the greatest shooters ever, and Donovan Mitchell is right up there with them. He's an offense unto himself. If Donovan Mitchell can elevate his playmaking out of traps and lead Cleveland to an NBA Finals appearance under Kenny Atkinson's new offensive spacing principles, he can easily be a top 10 player by next season. The talent on this list is just purely insane. And Donovan Mitchell is also surrounded by a lot of talent on Cleveland with Jarrett Allen, Evan Mobley, James Harden, and a potential of LeBron James. He's going to be his usage rate will probably drop. Same with Jaylen Brown, and they might just not have as great of a season, but they'll still be very impactful players. Kicking off the official top 10 is the ultimate modern shooting big, one of the greatest shooting big men ever, Karl Anthony Towns. Cat has completely transformed how analysts view his impact by settling beautifully into his identity as an elite, high-efficiency spacing nightmare. Cat put together a highly efficient season for the Knicks, averaging 20 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists on 50% shooting from the field and 36% shooting from beyond the arc. Having a 7-footer who can shoot those percentages from 3 on high volume completely break modern defensive schemes. Opposing centers cannot sit in drop coverage because they are forced out to the perimeter, which leaves the lane completely wide open for Jalen Brunson or a Josh Hart or OG Anunoby to explode down the runway, which we saw in the NBA Finals, ultimately leading to a Knicks championship, where Cat was a huge impact to it. And you might be surprised, why is Cat above Jalen Brunson when Jalen Brunson won Finals MVP? You could argue Cat could win Finals MVP. Jaylen Brown won Finals MVP, but I might have Jason Tatum higher than Jaylen Brown. Just know that Finals MVP does not mean everything, all right? The biggest reason that Cat secures the number 10 spot heading into the 2026 and 2027 NBA season is his defensive discipline. Cat has learned to utilize his frame to wall off physical drivers without biting on pump fakes. He's no longer a defensive liability like he was in Minnesota, but he's a functioning gear in the best defensive unit in basketball. And like I said, he is a huge impact on the New York Knicks, and he's a huge reason as to why they won the NBA Finals. At number 9 is the most dominant per-minute scorer in modern basketball history, Joel Embiid. Now, I know some of you are instantly throwing your hands up asking how a former MVP could fall all the way down to 9. A lot of people probably have him maybe top 5, but let's look at the tape and the data. You can't just look at box scores and statistics. or highlight reels. When he is on the court, Embiid plays like a top 3 player. Last season, he only played 38 games, but he put up 27 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 points per game. His face-up game from the high post is unguardable. If you drop, he buries the jumper. If you press, he uses his frame to draw contact at a historic rate and get to the free throw line. Now, he does have an injury tag, though. We cannot evaluate players in a vacuum. Embiid missed substantial time yet again last season. This is just a recurring theme for Joel Embiid. He did show up in playoffs, though, but he missed, like I said, he only played 38 games. You cannot lead a franchise through a brutal 2-month playoff run if your knee structure is consistently operating at less than 80%. He's on such a talented Philadelphia 76ers team, and he can't even get to the Eastern Conference Finals because of injuries. Now, with Jaylen Brown officially integrated into Philly alongside Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe and a potential for LeBron James joining, Embiid's regular season usage rate should drop significantly, which will hopefully manage his workload, giving him way less. He won't have to carry the team, giving him way less minutes per game, and he'll still hopefully stay healthy, and maybe he can climb up the ladder on this list and move up closer to a top 5. But this is designed to preserve him for April and May, for the playoff months, and maybe he'll reach the Eastern Conference Finals or even the Finals this year, assuming that he can manage his minutes better and stay healthy. But if this new infrastructure does keep him healthy for a full postseason run, he will rocket right back up this list, and he can probably get close to a top 5 appearance on this list. Right now, the availability tax does drop him to 9. I can't have him outside the top 10, though. He's too good of a player to fall that far. I think 9 is a perfect spot for a player as talented as Joel Embiid. Sliding in at number 8 is the face of the NBA's next generation, Anthony Edwards, Ant-Man. Anthony Edwards has officially graduated from a hyper-athletic young prospect into a bona fide, cold-blooded winning superstar. Anthony Edwards' dominant campaign last season yielded 29 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists per game. His mid-range pull-up has become incredibly smooth, giving him a true 3-level scoring package that doesn't just rely on his freakish first-step explosion. Now, what stats don't capture is Edwards' point-of-attack perimeter defense. He is one of the few true superstar guards who can actively demand the hardest perimeter defensive assignment in crunch time, using his lateral quickness and solid frame to completely dismantle opposing playmakers. Anthony Edwards' passing out of double teams has taken a massive leap. He's no longer just looking to score. He's manipulating the low man defender and feeding his corner shooters. At just 24 years old, his ceiling is completely limitless heading into this season, and there's a good chance we see him in the top 5 in the next 2-3 years. At number 7, entering his 20th season, defying the laws of human aging, is Kevin Durant. Even deep into his illustrious career, KD remains the most pure, scalable, plug-and-play offensive weapon on planet Earth. KD played 78 games last season, and he quietly put up 26 points, 5.5 rebounds, and 5 assists per game, while shooting 52% from the field and 42% from 3. This is just pure wizardry, because at his height and with his injury history, he's still able to dominate at this stage of his career, and at his age, it is absolutely incredible to see him make the list at number 7 even. KD is the ultimate luxury because he doesn't require 90 dribbles to affect an offense. He can operate as an elite off-ball spacer, a lethal screen and roll partner, or the most reliable isolation safety valve in tight fourth quarters. KD's length, shooting stroke, and underrated weak side rim protection mean he is still comfortably a top 7 player in the world heading into the 2026-27 season. Now for KD, I think he's at the age and the stage of his career where I don't think he's going to go up any, but he's still performing like the elite player that we all know, and I don't think he's going to go down soon either, but I just think the players above him are way younger, and I'm not just going to say more talented, but they are just as talented as him, and they're younger and have way more potential than aging KD does. Now coming in at number 6 is the offensive maestro of the Los Angeles Lakers, Luka Doncic. Luka is a walking, breathing, 115 offensive rating system all by himself. Last season, Luka led the league in pure offensive production, putting up roughly 33.9 points, 9.2 rebounds, and 9.8 assists per game. Luka treats elite NBA defenders like they are playing in slow motion. He uses his broad shoulders to create separation and his all-world passing vision to find the open man, in usually Austin Reeves. LA played a heavy spread pick and roll configuration. When you run drop coverage against Luka, he stops on a dime and buries the floater, or he can dish a pass to LeBron James for a lob. If you blitz him, he flips a cross-court water polo pass directly into the hands of a weak side shooter before your defense can even rotate. Now, LA just lost LeBron, and it's really looking like it's just going to be Luka and AR next season being the leaders of the team. So he's going to stay at number 6 for now, although his usage rate will for sure increase, but I don't think his win rate will. The defensive end and the conditioning is also a big problem for Luka. It has been his whole career. In high-stakes postseason series, elite teams systematically target Luka in hunting actions, forcing him to work laterally over and over again. We saw this with James Harden as well, and now it's happening with Luka. Until he can consistently maintain high-level two-way stamina across a full 48 minutes, or at least close to that, the elite two-way forces just edge him out, and he's not a top 5 player, and that's going to spark a lot of controversy, I already know, but I have him at number 6, mainly because of his lackluster defense and his lack of conditioning. Opening up our top 5 is a finals winner from the Boston Celtics, Jason Tatum. Tatum is the ultimate contemporary basketball prototype. He's just coming off an Achilles injury. Only played about 16 games last season, but he put up good numbers in those 16 games. He put up about 22 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists per game. In the few games that he did play, he sat out a little bit during the playoffs, and ultimately the Celtics lost due to the absence of Tatum. I think if they had Tatum, it would have been a different story. But Tatum has completely filled out his frame, allowing him to absorb heavy contact in the paint and finish through rim protectors. Tatum cracks the top 5 ahead of some statistical icons like Luka, but as I've said multiple times in these videos, that stats don't mean everything, the box score doesn't mean everything, and the highlights don't mean everything, because Tatum has 0 holes in his basketball utility. I mean, he doesn't have any problems defensively. He's a great offensive weapon. He just came off an Achilles injury, and he played like he never left, really. And I think next season without Jaylen Brown, he'll get to prove that he's he's been the guy, the main guy, and his usage rate will increase, and himself as a player and his stats and everything will also increase, and he will bring more wins to the Celtics than Jaylen Brown was able to do last season. Now, what makes Tatum so brilliant is that he is always effective no matter what, because if his shot isn't falling, he will still grab 12 rebounds, switch across 4 positions defensively, and act as a highly proficient secondary playmaker. He will always try to make some sort of impact on the game if scoring isn't working for him. Now, Tatum anchors a Boston squad built completely on positional size, versatility, and analytical efficiency. He plays hard on every single defensive possession, seals out on the glass, and has completely shed the narrative that he can't close out games on the biggest stage. Heading into the next season, Tatum is squarely in his absolute prime, and like I said, coming off of this Achilles injury, I think he'll just be better than ever, especially without another partner in crime in Jaylen Brown. At number 4 is the most physically dominant force in modern sports, Giannis Antetokounmpo. The Greek freak continues to produce historical baselines that we really haven't seen since the days of pretty much prime Shaquille O'Neal. Now, similarly to Tatum, Giannis missed a lot of the season due to injury. He only played 36 games, but in those 36 games, he produced mind-boggling numbers with 27.5 points per game, 10 boards, and 5.5 assists per game as well. And he also shot 63% from the field. He's the only human being alive who can score 30 points a night almost exclusively inside the paint. He does not have a three-point shot, and I just don't think he is going to work on it now at this point in his career. But he still puts up 30 a night just off paint drives, despite every coach drawing up at least 3-man wall to somehow try to stop him. But they're not able to. He's physically demanding. When Giannis grabs a defensive rebound and pushes the break, your defense is in an immediate state of panic. His long strides mean he can cover half the court in basically 2 dribbles, finishing with an unguardable Euro step or dishing to his shooters. Giannis just got traded to the Miami Heat in this offseason, and I think that's going to open up his opportunities to become a better player while sharing a front court with talent like Bam Adebayo, and that's just going to give him more opportunity to become more dominant than he was with Milwaukee with virtually no help. In Milwaukee, Giannis was their primary scorer, their elite defensive helper, and a key rebounder every single night. And with a guy like Bam now in the front court shared with Giannis, I think it's going to take a lot of the burden off of Giannis, and it'll ultimately make Giannis better as a player. And if anything, it'll preserve his legs for the postseason, assuming he can stay healthy, and he will remain a consistent MVP favorite heading into next year. At least should be an MVP finalist. At number 3, the alien himself, already in his career, we have Victor Wembanyama, and you might be thinking I'm overrating him or I might be too high on him, whatever. But we are officially living in the era of Wemby's total basketball assassination. What he did last season was completely historic. In just his 3rd year in the league, he put up 64 games, 25 points, 11.5 rebounds, 3 assists, and over 3 blocks per game on 51% shooting from the field, 35% shooting from beyond the arc. He led the league in blocks. He was swept the DPOY voting, and he finished top 3 in MVP voting. Defensively, Wemby has completely broken the sport. Opposing teams don't even try to run pick and roll actions inside the paint when he's on the floor because his 8-foot wingspan, 8 feet, it's incredible. His 8-foot wingspan allows him to play drop coverage while simultaneously recovering to contest 3-point shooters. It is pure, unadulterated defensive sorcery, and he has levels of gravity that we haven't seen since prime Steph. But he has this defensively, like, if you're in the paint, or if Wemby's in the paint and you're trying to score, you gotta take that 3-point shot, and you gotta take it fast before Wemby takes those 2 steps and tries to contest you. And his defensive gravity is absolutely insane. It's up there with Rudy Gobert. It's very incredible what we are seeing out of this young sensation. And he just led the Spurs to the NBA Finals, and he didn't play great in the finals. He didn't play poorly, but he could have showed up a little bit better. Nonetheless, still a very young player who just made the NBA Finals in his 3rd season. Something incredible to watch. San Antonio has spent the last year meticulously building a professional, high IQ spacing wrapper around him. Now that Wemby has experienced playmakers feeding him in structured half-court sets, his offensive efficiency is jumping through the roof. He is already a top 3 player on earth, and he's only 22 years old with so much more potential. And I can see at least a couple more NBA Finals in the next maybe 5-10 years. This kid is incredibly talented, should win an MVP within the next couple years. He was top 3 in his 3rd year in the league. It's incredible. He probably will win another DPOY next year. He just swept it, which is also incredible. And I don't know who is really going to compete with him in the DPOY category. Sitting firmly at number 2 is the most brilliant basketball mind alive today, Nikola Jokic. For the last couple of years, a lot of people have debated Jokic or Shea, and people are probably watching this video wondering who I put at number 1, who I put at number 2. Now you know, Jokic is at number 2, but his actual baseline impact has not diminished one bit. He deserves every bit of number 2, and this is no diss to Jokic at all. He's an incredibly talented player. He's something we've never seen before. Last season, Jokic turned in Another historic campaign, averaging 27.7 points, 12.9 rebounds, and 10.7 assists per game. That doesn't even sound real. He is a walking triple-double who controls the entire geometry of the floor. Jokic is a genius. He plays basketball like a genius. It's completely unfair. When he goes against you, it's like he's going against an AAU team. If you guard him single coverage in the post, his soft touch and elite footwork will systematically destroy you. But if you send a double team from the weak side, he'll just throw a blind over-the-shoulder pass directly into the shooting pocket of an open cutter before your defense can even react. That is just the talent, the IQ, the skill of Nikola Jokic, and it is just absolutely incredible to witness. Now, Jokic makes everyone on his team 25% better, statistically proven, just by existing on the floor. He doesn't rely on speed or vertical explosion. He relies on spatial awareness, elite processing, and unmatched strength. He is an absolute legend in his prime, and the only reason he isn't number one is because of the historic two-week campaign put together by the person that is in number one. Jokic's defense could be worked on a little bit more, then maybe I'd move him to the one spot. But he is the greatest offensive center of all time, and he's still in his prime, I would say. He's an incredible talent, and it's like I said, it's just you got to cherish what we're witnessing from a player like Jokic. This is absolutely just mind-boggling from what we're seeing today. Heading into the 2026 to 2027 NBA season, the crown for best player in the NBA officially belongs to a two-time MVP, a Finals MVP, scoring champion, a Finals champion, NBA champion, best player in the world, best scorer of the decade, Oklahoma City point guard, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, SGA. SGA just put together a historic MVP season, leading the Oklahoma City Thunder to an NBA best 64 wins. Individually, he averaged a blistering 31.1 points, 6.6 assists, and 4.3 rebounds per game, while shooting an efficient 55.3% from the field. He became the first guard in modern history to average 30-plus points on 55% shooting. That is absolutely incredible. It's unreal what the talent level in the entire NBA is, but especially from what we're seeing out of guys like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Nikola Jokic too. Shai was the most cold-blooded, clutch executioner in the league last year. He led the entire NBA in clutch scoring, executing high-stakes isolation sets with absolute composure. His signature stop-and-go change of pace and mid-range turnaround jumper are completely unguardable, and he is by far the most unguardable player in the NBA. If you don't believe me, I made a whole video on that. You guys can go check that out. But he really is the most unguardable player currently and one of the most unguardable players of all time. I would say he has a top 3 guard peak ever. He is truly talented. He's very smart, and he is just an elite scorer. And not only that, he's an elite defender. Because what separates Shai and secures his spot at number 1 over Jokic is his absolute dominance on the defensive end. Whereas Jokic has some questionable actions there, Shai led all guards in deflections, steals, and contested pull-up shots. He is a premier on-ball lockdown defender who triggers OKC's transition offense. Shai's defense is absolutely incredible. We've seen scoring like this before from guys like James Harden. We've seen it right now with Luka Doncic. We've never seen somebody play defense at the level that he plays and score at the level that he scores. It's absolutely unreal to watch. Shai is the perfect combination of high-volume scoring efficiency, elite playmaking processing, and lockdown perimeter defense. He has elevated the Thunder into the absolute premier juggernaut of the Western Conference. Heading into this season, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the best basketball player in the world, and he has a chance to win 3 straight MVPs, and it would be absolutely remarkable to see that happen. And he's probably the favorite to win another scoring title, and I would not be surprised if he wins it. He has been just playing out of his mind. He's absolutely incredible, and like I said, he's just so fun to watch. But other than that, that's going to wrap up this video. That is my official top 10 players list heading into the 2026 and 27 NBA season. The league is in the most talented, most competitive position that it has ever been since the creation of the league, and the battle for the top spot is tighter than ever before. Now, I do want to hear from you guys in the comments, so let me know who I dropped too far, who I put too high, who got snubbed from this list. Maybe you don't want SGA number 1. Maybe you want Jokic number 1. Let me know where I went wrong, where I went right, and make sure to drop your full top 10 rankings in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive analysis, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss a video, because I do post daily NBA content, so make sure to go check that out.